There can be only one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks. I'm Matt,
and this is Heath.
Oh, now the podcast got good. Cranking it up to 11 now.
I have returned.
I don't know where Wes is, though.
Does he know where he is?
I don't think he can handle it.
No.
I don't think it's a roller coaster ride, and it's too much excitement for him.
Yes.
By the way, if anyone doesn't remember, Heath was on. I really enjoyed it. It was supposed to be a prank. I was talking about tea. Remember that? And then it turned into this 3-episode series that I just enjoyed. So the joke was on us.
I need to go back and listen to that because I have not listened to that since
it was
did it.
So good. It turned out to be, we on purpose, we're going to try the most boringest topic to bore Wes with, and ended up, I ended up having a great time. So I'm glad to have you back. This is one we talked about doing last year. We didn't have the time. So this year we wanted to talk about it, about your Mecca. Is that what it is? So what we call
pilgrimage.
Pilgrimage. Thank you. Your pilgrimage to the Prince Mecca. There is that right?
Which is officially called Paisley Park.
Paisley Park. I couldn't remember it.
It is.
So
yeah, it is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and after all this time, I finally got there.
Now let's back up here. You are a huge Prince fan.
Since 1981.
What was the song that you went, what is this? What was the song that hooked you?
Well, 1981,
or maybe there's an album. I don't know. Back in the day, it could have been a whole album.
1981, I would have been 9.
Mm-hmm.
This is pre-Purple Rain, pre-Stardom, big Stardom.
That's awesome.
My sister got me into funk music.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is Gap Band, Daz Band, Midnight Star, Cameo, Rick James, obviously.
Yep.
Super Freak was huge in 81.
Oh, yes.
And then she brought this tape home that somebody had recommended to her. She was in, I believe she was in junior high, fixing to go to high school. And she brought in this tape, and it was this guy called Prince, and the album was Controversy. So that was his album that came out in 81. And one day, I think I was walking by her room, and it was just playing, and I was like, I'm 9 years old, and that probably sounds weird for a lot of 9-year-olds, but I've always been a music person since day one.
There's a lot of people like that.
So I was into music even at an early age, and for some odd reason, it just, I don't know if it was the beat of it. I don't know if it was, I'm not really sure to this day what drew me into it. But other than the fact that there was a couple of risque songs on there, and being a 9-year-old, that upped the ante. The last song on the album Controversy, it's dirty. Can I say it? Can I say the name of the song?
Go ahead.
The name of the song was Jack You Off.
Yep.
And, of course, when my sister said, "Don't tell Mom I'm listening to this," boing. So immediately I was drawn to the raunchiness of it, and then the risque part of it and stuff. But I don't know, the song Controversy, there's a song called Let's Work. These were all way before. I mean, this is pre-1999, so this is, I don't know.
This is before a lot of his well-known hits.
Absolutely. So for some odd reason, I liked it.
Now, I will say this, in the 80s, and maybe it's like this for some kids today, but in the 80s, it wasn't uncommon to just sit around and listen to the radio. I remember doing that. Several times. You just sit around and you turn on the radio and you would just kind of talk and listen to music.
Well, I mean, the radio stations had electric dedications at night on FM 102, which was big here. Then you had on the weekends, you had Casey Kasem's American Top 40.
We never missed that. 'Cause
Never missed it.
You wanted to see where your song ranked.
You would sit there for 4 hours or however long it was, through the commercials, through everything, to see what the number one song was going to be.
Yep.
Then you had 93 QID out of Alexandria. Had their
I loved 93 QID.
They had their top 5 at 9. So that was, radio was huge then. I mean, that was really your only way of hearing music. Now, we have done an episode about MTV before, so this is really pre-MTV. So the videos weren't even out yet.
Video hadn't killed the radio star yet.
Correct. And it did a lot of them. But yeah, so, and it wasn't, and it was also when a new release came out back in the day. You would listen to the cassette or the vinyl, front to back. Yep. Front to back.
I didn't skip a single song.
No, you didn't skip songs. So it was an event. It really was an event when an album or something came out. So anyway, loved him then. 1999 came out. By 82 and then late 83, obviously MTV hit. Prince became a big star with the song Little Red Corvette. One of the first real big videos of a black artist that MTV played, along with Michael Jackson's stuff.
Yep, Michael Jackson, huge.
And then, so loved the whole 1999 album, and then of course in '84, Purple Rain came out, mega hit. The rest is history. So
At this point, you feel like it's a badge of honor because you knew about him before all of this.
That's where I was going. I was not a bandwagon.
No. Person. You were like, I've been saying I like this guy since '81.
Yeah. Now, granted, he had been out since '78, but
still,
you weren't. We weren't hearing in.
It was pre-popularity explosion for him.
Yeah. So anyway,
I get that.
Yeah. So he. I just don't know. I mean, I don't know if it was the way. I always liked the fact that you would read on the back of his album stuff: produced, arranged, composed, and performed by Prince. So it was very odd that he was doing everything, all the instruments, all the singing, all the background singing, everything. So I like the originality of that. A lot of his sounds that he got out of drum machines and keyboards and stuff was groundbreaking. So that was appealing. And then when you saw live performance footage of him,
right,
he was like next to none as far as a performer. He could do it all. He could play bass. He could play guitar. He could run around and dance on stage. He could.
That's true. He was a jack of all trades.
Yeah. So, I mean, just all that combination for some odd reason appealed to this kid from Hebert, Louisiana, that lived out in the middle of cotton fields. I don't know why, but he always was the top artist for me. And it never waned. It was always there. Then, of course, later in his life, he goes through the name change with the symbol and all that stuff.
And what did you think about this when it happened? You were not a fan.
I was embarrassed.
Now,
no, I'm serious.
Now, he did it because of a label dispute, correct?
He did it for a label dispute.
Yes.
He thought if I change my name,
I'll get out of this.
Then I'm not contractually bound and all that stuff. And so to have to hear the ridicule from people that know you like Prince, that all of a sudden he became symbol,
the artist formerly known as Prince.
Yeah, so
that's how they describe him.
That was, to me, that was the wilderness years. So, and then so he did that from '93 to 2001, I think, or 2000.
There were a few good songs from that era, though.
There were a few. I
believe the song 7 was
well,
one
that was right before he changed his name.
Oh, was it? Okay, because I remember that's one of his forgotten hits that used to play on the radio all the time, and I thought was so good.
What's weird about that is it peaked at number 7 on the charts.
Shut up.
True story.
Wow.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, I saw him in concert many times. I got to see him at least 7 or 8 times. Um, his ability as a performer to captivate an audience just is
bar none.
bar none. And I've been to hundreds of shows, and to this day, still the top performer for me.
That's what you were telling me, because when I asked you a long time ago, I believe on this podcast, of best concert you ever been to, without a hesitation there,
Yeah.
I believe it was Prince. So yeah. So let me ask you this, because I do remember this. I don't know if you do. Do you remember where you were when he died? Do you remember that day?
Yes. I was gone to lunch at work.
Yep.
9 years ago, and the anniversary of his death was just last week.
Yep.
I was at work, and for some odd reason, I wasn't paying attention on my phone or whatever. I get back to work, sit at my desk, my voicemail light is blinking profusely, just off the hook. So I'm like, I got a bunch of messages. Then all of a sudden, a friend of mine at work had called me and said, "Hey, have you heard?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You hadn't heard?" And I was like, "Heard what?" He's like, "Oh man, Prince died." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "No way."
Yeah, because it wasn't like he was an
Yeah.
old man or suffered drug overdose or anything like that.
Yeah.
You think that yeah.
And so I didn't believe it, and obviously I got on the news wires and stuff like that, and it was indeed true. It had happened earlier they had found him earlier that morning,
Right.
and stuff, and then they finally did it. But and the weird thing about all of a sudden my phone started, just tons of messages started coming through. So this will tell you the scope of how big a Prince fan I am. My mother called to check on me and said everybody at work where she was working was either calling or texting her asking if I was okay.
Wow.
My wife was getting text asking, "Is Heath okay?"
Wow, because they knew you were that big of a
Yes.
fan.
I had tons of messages. "Hey, I just heard. Are you okay?" But I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a fruit." But at the same time, I was shocked. I was still more in shock. I just couldn't believe it. And then, of course, that night when I went home, and then I started watching all the news and stuff, gathering information, what happened, this and that, and then that's when it kind of started sinking in. And there was a sadness, but it was more just like to me, he was one of those that just almost seemed immortal.
Right.
And I guess when you're an icon, I guess that's kind of how you're viewed upon.
I think a lot of people felt the same way about Michael Jackson.
Absolutely.
They just did not think that was going to happen so soon.
No.
In our lifetime.
I was in Target shopping when my mom called and told me that Michael Jackson passed. That was in 2009.
Dang.
I do remember that one.
Dang.
Because I yelled out loud, "What?" I was like, "No way." So anyway, back to Prince.
I said, "Come on, you can't be serious."
That's it. That is terrible.
That is awful.
That was horrible. But anyway, so I will say this: after I watched all that, and then I started getting real melancholy, and then I did get sad, and then I couldn't listen to his music for about 6 months.
Prince?
Yeah.
Wow, just because it made you so sad knowing that he wasn't going to be creating any more new music.
Well, I mean, when you invest so much time, money,
That's fair.
this and that, when you have an idol, I guess you could say, and that has been one for, I guess at that time it would have been over 40 years.
Yeah.
Then it was. I'm not going to say it was like losing a family member or anything like that, but it was very surreal. So when I finally played, I finally put on Purple Rain one day.
Okay, I was going to ask what the recovery song was.
I put Purple Rain on, and even before he passed, anytime you hear Purple Rain, it's such a powerful song. There are certain songs in everybody's life that hits them. Mm-hmm. And it's either got a story, it means something, it just resonates with them.
It strikes a chord with you.
Yeah. So pretty much the last, when I would say 4 minutes of Purple Rain, when he goes into the guitar solo.
Yeah.
And stuff, and then from then till the end, would almost give me, I would tear up every time almost, because it's a
beautiful song.
It's a powerful moment.
It's very powerful.
Very powerful. I saw Purple Rain in the movie theater when I was in 6th grade when it came out.
Did you know?
Yes, I did. I begged my mom to take me.
Wow.
It was rated R, but she took me and my sister, who was 5 years older.
Oh, look at there.
And my mom's a Prince fan, and so I mean,
Look at there.
I got to see that. I took my sister and my mother to see Prince in '04 because they had never seen him before. So that was kind of one of those, hey, you did something good, kid. You
did something good. You did something good, is what they said.
So, yeah. So anyway, so I put on Purple Rain, and I just sit there and I close my eyes, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I did not bellow boo-hoo, but I did have tears.
You did have tears, okay.
I had tears. It was kind of cathartic in a way. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of, after
We're
that...
at the stage of acceptance right now. We've passed grief.
So then I kind of slowly incorporated his music back in. It was still raw, but...
Of course.
So... I actually had he died on April the 21st, 2016. Mm-hmm. I had tickets to go to Houston and see Duran Duran. About 5 days after that, I did not go because I was like,
just couldn't.
No, I was like,
Wasn't the time to celebrate.
Was not time to, yeah, it really wasn't. I gave up. And I'd seen them before and stuff, but I just told the people I was going with, I was like, look,
now's not the right time for me.
Nope.
That's fair.
So it was, it was something. So, 8 years later, I finally did something that I'd been wanting to do for 20 years, and I made it. Me and my wife did a trip, and I went to Paisley Park, which is, for Prince fans, that would be similar to Elvis and Graceland, if you want to put it in perspective.
No, exactly. So this was something you've always wanted to do. So what all did you get to see? Because they take you through a tour of this place.
So there was 3 tiers. You either got a 60-minute tier, there's a 90-minute one, and then there was a 3-hour one. Well, guess which one I did?
The 3-hour one for sure.
Yes.
They showed you wonders.
Yeah, if you're going to fly from Louisiana to Minnesota,
you go big. I agree with that.
And you're a huge Prince fan, you're going to do the...
I agree with that's the wise choice.
Yeah, so it was called the Ultimate Experience.
The Ultimate, okay.
So when I first get there, it's gated, obviously. So the highway that you're driving down it, the governor dedicated that part of the road, and it's now called the Prince Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway, and the sign is purple, not green.
That's nice.
The sign is purple.
That's nice. Nice nod.
Yes. So
nice
all of a sudden you see a sign that says Paisley Park, and it's got an arrow, and you kind of look over across the road, and it's there. It's very unassuming from the road. It's like, that's it. It's weird because when he first built it, it took from like 85 to 87 to build. He bought land out in the middle, and I think you say Chanhassen or Shanhausen, however you say it or whatever. So it's a suburb. It's way out. When he bought it, it was strictly just woods. Mm. Now it's more like a subdivision. It's more urban, I guess you could say now. But anyway, it used to be in the middle of nowhere, and now it's kind of got stuff around it, and so we turn up in there, and it's a gated thing, so it's kind of like Elvis's Graceland, where Elvis has the musical notes on the gate and stuff. Of course, his gate has the Prince symbols, and all
the
that
symbol,
stuff. The symbol,
the symbol. Okay, good.
The symbols on it. And then you drive up in there, and you hang a left, and you come to a security little guard, not a guard tower, but little where they'll let you in and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And I we drive up and roll the window down, and this huge guy, obviously he's packing too, because you can tell he means business. And I said, yeah, I'm here for the 1 o'clock tour or whatever. And it was like 12:30 or whatever. And he was like, all right, you can go park over here. And then had to go around the building. We could park. And then he gets on his little walkie-talkie. Yeah, I got 2 coming, blah, blah, blah. And it's,
okay.
So it was like very
That's
secure.
A big ordeal.
So then when we come around to it, then you see what it always looked like on TV or
So
or
then you see
pictures.
the picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
You felt like I'm home now.
no, I didn't know what I didn't have any feeling at the moment. It was
Okay, so it hadn't hit you yet.
no,
The your spidey sense wasn't tingling, as they say.
no. It was just like I know this sounds weird. It was just kind of like, whoa, there it is. And
Okay.
it was, I won't say it's anticlimactic, but it was just.
It hadn't yet hit you. You were at Prince's home.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like you weren't soaking all the it wasn't just hitting you. You were finally here.
They said you can go into the gift shop portion until it's time, and I said, hey, great. Let me go ahead and look for souvenirs now and get that over with.
Yeah, when in Rome.
Yeah. So of course, immediately when you walk in, there's this huge mural that's on the wall of him when he played the Super Bowl.
Oh, right.
Which is still rated the top Super Bowl performance of all time.
Oh.
If you're doing Purple Rain and it's raining, that was the Chicago Bears Indianapolis game.
Okay, big game.
Yeah.
Okay. No nip slips in that one.
No,
Okay.
but I mean, it was pouring rain. It was storming. They didn't know if they were going to be able to pull it off because it was open air. And
right.
Prince
is a professional.
The producer asked Prince, "Are you going to be able to do this or anything?" And he says, "Can you make it rain more?"
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then
What
goes
a trooper!
out, and then
What
goes
a
out there,
trooper!
and then goes out there and kills it.
A lot of people would be like, "I can't do this. Mm-hmm. I'm not standing out in the rain and catching a cold or getting because it's cold."
Yeah.
And he went, "Can you make it rain more?"
Yeah. I mean, that's a Prince line right there.
Give me a wheelbarrow to carry my balls onto this field.
Yes. And
Let's do this.
And he delivered.
There you go. So you got to see. Okay.
Yeah. So
where's the moment? Where's that first moment where the skin started tingling?
That's coming.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's coming.
Go ahead.
I mean, so
it's rising. The levels are rising.
We're not rising.
Yeah, got it. Okay, go on.
So we're into the gift shop area. Tons of stuff. I bought a few things, a T-shirt here, a couple other things, and then all of a sudden it was like, who's here for the 1 o'clock? And there were other people. Now, granted, the Ultimate Experience package, I didn't know this until we got there. It was limited to about, I think it was not even 15 people. So it was very small and limited, which was good.
Right.
Because I think some of the other tours might have been bigger, but since this was like the ultimate thing.
The high tier one's going to be a little bit more slow.
And it's 3 hours long, so you don't need...
You got to space out your day for those.
Yeah. So anyway, they said, all right, let's go. And they took us outside, and then we go to the front entrance of where the main foyer and all that is. And as we're walking in, security stops us there, and he says, he gives out these little packet things. He said, put your phone in here.
Oh, no phones.
No phones.
No pictures.
No pictures.
Okay.
So they put our phones in these little pouches and put some lock thing on them, and they let us hold them.
But you couldn't have access.
No, you couldn't open it.
Okay. It's fair. They're charging for this. They don't want free pictures floating around the internet.
Well, if you had videos on YouTube of this and all that, why would anybody want to come see it?
Gotcha. No, it's fair.
And
it's fair.
plus, I guess that's more of the Prince mystique in a way.
I don't mind that. Understandable.
Yeah.
Got to make her money.
So anyway, they take us into the main foyer where there's a receptionist and all that stuff, and then you start seeing the way that it's been decorated. You see all of a sudden on the side of the wall, you see all of these gold and platinum albums.
That's nice.
Just rows upon
Rows
rows.
and rows.
Yeah. And then you see, not everything is purple. He pretty much every room had a different color.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it really was like a dreamscape if you think about it. Just the way there's clouds painted everywhere.
And you know that he did a lot of this because he was very particular on
Yes.
how he wanted things.
Yeah. So we waited for there. Then the guide came and gave us some brief little overview of whatnots and don't touch this and you can go here, but stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we went into the main atrium, and which is totally opens up. You can see the second floor up there. They would not let us go to the second floor. That's where his living quarters and all that stuff was. So he was actually living there at the time. It wasn't originally built to be his living quarters, but then after he had married and divorced a couple times, it just kind of became his place. Hang out. Yeah.
Place. Got it.
Yeah, so they did not let us go see any of that.
Oh, okay. So certain sections were still off limits, even to the top tier.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
So there was a whole little kitchen area, and it almost looked like a mini diner that was strictly for him. He would either come out of his office or he'd come out of one of the studios, and he had a little mini kitchen there.
Nice.
And they said that the atrium and the kitchen thing, he held a lot of little parties for celebrities and stars and a lot of hanging out, and he would DJ and stuff there. And
nice.
Then they could just go in there and, like Dave Chappelle said, if he wanted to make them pancakes, he could do that.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So that
Can you imagine a pancake made by Prince?
No.
What do you think that would taste like?
Heaven. It would have to, wouldn't it?
It would. Pancakes by Prince.
I mean, everything that Dave Chappelle...
You'd hold in your crap for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So that food wouldn't escape your body.
Yeah, the Eddie Murphy story of basketball is real.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then there's a couple of different murals. A couple of some of his original guitars are out.
Okay.
On display,
yes.
which was killer.
Okay.
And it's the originals because I was looking, I was like, no, that's the one that he's been playing.
So this is the moment?
Nope.
Oh,
nope.
I thought it was.
Nope,
okay.
we're getting there.
Okay. Wow, looking at the original guitars.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
you weren't at half mast at this point.
Yes. You went there.
I did.
They let us go into his personal office.
Now that's really cool.
That was very cool. Obviously, it had the little movie theater ropes where you could only go so far in, but we went all the way in. He had this little bitty custom made desk. It looked like for a little person because he was a little person.
He was smaller.
Had its own little personal bathroom. He had all these books and stuff that was on these shelves, and I was trying to see some of them, but I couldn't really see what they were. But they still had stuff laid out on his desk, and they pretty much said, other than getting it ready to be a museum and stuff like that, pretty much everything was pretty much left alone.
Oh, wow.
A lot of it was.
So those were all his books and everything then. There weren't fake props in there.
Mm-mm. Off of that, there was another room that was like a video editing room. So all his performances, he always had them videotaped, and he would go in and critique, and he would look at them, and they would use them for rehearsals and check rehearsals and all that. They showed us some concert footage that had never been released before,
Oh, okay.
and I would know if it was.
You would have known.
Yeah, because I got a lot of it.
Okay.
But
so did you get
I
to see
saw
that?
I saw stuff that I had never seen before. Yes, and I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that's not the chill
for
moment
you.
yet.
For you, it's like an archaeologist discovering new findings
Yeah.
with this new unreleased footage.
Yeah.
That's with bated breath.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to pause right here because we're at the halfway point here.
All right.
I mean, we're at the point where we're going to stop. We're going to come back and continue this to part 2 because I know that if anybody, Wes is on pins and needles right now.
Yes.
So we're going to come back next week. We're going to hear part 2 of the story, and then I got some more questions for you.
Got it.
Okay? All right, folks. We'll see you next time on Princes of the Universe.